Hello again, Sandwich. I'm Greg Anderson, back again with another candidate. Yes, if you were watching my interview with Sue Miller, I'm wearing the same thing. It's the same thing, but it's one Miller to another. It's the Miller household today. So today we're talking about the select board. Look, there are 2 terms expiring, 2 people running. It's not contested. Bobby George is running for his third 3-year term, as is Mike Miller, selectman. There's a lot that Mike has been a part of, the boardwalk, the new town hall, Center for Active Living, the charter review. So why is he coming back to the board, wanting to come back to the board? And here's another question. Why are there no challengers? I'm always interested in that. So welcome to the show, Mike Miller. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Greg.
So let's start with that. Why don't you guys have any challengers?
We're good. My background was from college was political science, and I used to love to watch exactly what you're saying. Why do some people just have the ability that people either feel confident in and they don't want to challenge it? I think in my case, I think what's happened is we have accomplished so much in the 6 years that I've been on the board, the whole board, not just me, and now they're seeing the benefits of it. They get a chance to go to the town hall, which they fought us on and wasn't going to give it to us. And we've sold the building and put money into an account that we're using to offset the school's bond to help.
Yeah.
We opened the Cal, which is an amazing building. It's going to be the biggest positive aspect of the town. I mean, there's so much space when we decided on that, the board threw their support behind the building, but not as a council on aging building, as a active living for everybody. The gymnasium was a huge question. We got that on. Right. And now they're using it. I mean, I got something that after the first week, there was over 1,000 people that visited the place. And that was the big fear. You spend $12 million or whatever and nobody comes.
Yeah.
So I think what happens is if they're happy, don't want to, if there's not that big of a thing to challenge on.
Yeah. So who are you going to vote for? Are you going to vote for you or Bobby? Is he voting for you? Like what's your deal?
Well, we're going to vote for ourselves. I got to figure out if I'm going to vote for my wife though.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, let's talk about a couple of things. Give me the latest on the boardwalk. Where do we stand on that?
Okay. Latest on the boardwalk. And we finally got down to the process of getting, you may know some of this background, but most of the delay over the last 2 or 3 years has been permitting issues. There were also, you knew it, the sandwich issues, the challenges, the hearings and all that we had to go through, the appeals of the hearings. But when we finally got through all that, we had architects on board all the whole time, and they did adjust. The townspeople that were involved in the groups did get some concessions in the sense of changing things. But when we finally got down to the permitting, most of the permitting was okay until we got to the Corps of Engineers, which they're part of it. And it got tangled up for months. And they were saying that, they had to say over, how you getting permission to put the things in and the pilings in. And then the same group in Sandwich that was trying to get changes made calls. And when you make a call to a political outfit like that stirred up, well, maybe we should have open meetings. Maybe we should have this and that. We got through all that, and guess what? They decided about 4 weeks ago, maybe more. Guess what? We don't have authority over the boardwalk. This is the Corps of Engineers. They're holding us up. They said 1960, they turned it over to the Coast Guard. So Heather Harper is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
She got right on it, found out who was the Coast Guard, made the call. They signed off in a week saying, it's not inevitable. We don't have a problem with it. And so then we could go out to bid.
Yeah.
We went out to bid, and we had, I think, 5 bidders. And as it turns out, after evaluation and investigation, the town chose the second, not the lowest, but the second. He then filed a complaint with the AG's office on the bidding process. The AG's office heard all the information from our lawyers, why we did the bid where we did last week, and they're supposed to give us a decision by the end of the month.
Oh, wow.
It's okay to go. It's just unbelievable, the process that this thing has gone through. It's just unbelievable.
were you surprised at all, Mike, at the kind of the opinions about, do we need a boardwalk or not? And what are we doing? Well, why the boardwalk? Did any of that surprise you?
Not really, because I grew up in Town Neck. I grew up in Sandwich, and I grew up on Town Neck. I've probably been over that boardwalk more than anybody ever would be, because our 25 years of our walking route every morning included going over the boardwalk. So I've climbed over it when it was crooked and fallen down after storms. But it is an iconic thing. There's no question about it. But it was not safe. And I guess the only part that upset me was, especially in the hearings when we went for the demo permit before the Historical Commission, there were hundreds, people involved there. They were very emotional and all this. Yeah. But it was an unsafe boardwalk. And if you actually had to repair it, which we did, there's state laws that say that if you go over 50% of value, you have to upgrade it totally. So that's accessibility for wheelchairs, all that stuff. And it's huge money. Yeah. And but they at the same point just wouldn't give up, and they kept challenging everything, which is their right. But it just slowed things down to the point where, it kind of got kind of nasty at times, that hearing, because you had people that had disabilities and were speaking that they'd never been able to go over the boardwalk, and they've always wanted to because of the way it was. And then other people saying, I don't care, leave it the way it is, fix it like it is. How can you fix it when all the posts are rotted,
Yeah, right.
That did frustrate me, because we had made a lot of investigation. The town engineers have been involved. The Support the Boardwalk group that challenged us and wanted a historic architect to look at the bridge. So we brought one in for, I think it was like $15,000. Guy had worked for the town hall and stuff. And in that hearing, he said to the whole group, when I came on, I thought it could be saved, but after going through this, it can't be. Yeah. Now and then it still challenges us.
Right. So when you look at your next 3-year term, what you said in some of your information that you feel there's some unfinished business. You got more to do. Be specific. What do you got to do?
I want to see the completion. When I say unfinished, that boardwalk is going to get done. Yeah. The next only major thing we really are looking at in the future is that fire station that's in the flood zone. We did a tour of some of these buildings because a committee is looking at where to place a substation if we got to move that out of there. And J.J. Burke was telling us, and I didn't know this, that in March, they had water through those bays 3 times. Flood water. Yeah. Now, I've seen it in my type, when I was working in the police department, we were higher, but I've seen a foot of water go through there, and the whole place was like an island. So at some point, you got to do something about it. So that's one thing that's not finished, and they're working on it. They're looking at it. The site they're looking at is next to the highway barn. And then we can sell those buildings. One of the issues right now, one of the complaints a lot of people had is, we're not selling buildings. We got too much buildings and all that. So, of course, we auctioned off the fire station in Forestdale, made twice the money we thought we were going to. We thought 300,000, came in at 600 plus. We're auctioning off the big building in the industrial park, probably the 2 weeks after town meeting. The auctioneers have been chosen and all that. That should bring in some decent money. We're looking at downtown, the annex, and we're going slow on that because we just don't know how to do it, whether we do it with an auctioneer or we do an RFP to control it better. So that's still being worked on. The other 2 buildings are the old police station, which is now under lease with the military, which Heather Harper did that job. That was unbelievable. They donated $28,000 of the roof. So we put it on, so it improves the building. But there's connections between the police and fire. There's a line for generators. I think there might be some septic. So the idea would be is if you could sell them as one down the line, or break it up and spend some money and fix what's connected and sell them separately. But the goal is this board has been very consistent on saying, get rid of properties that we don't need. And that money can only go into a certain account, which can only be used for either bondable projects or bonding projects. Mm-hmm. So the $600,000 we took from the Forestdale Fire Station and the $300,000 from the selling of those houses on 6A and some other properties, we donated, the town agreed to put in that $900,000 into that school bond to reduce the bond by that much.
Yeah.
Now all this will go into the same thing. So it's kind of like a slush fund in a way. So if you had if you get to $1.5 million in there, $2 million in there, and you had a small bondable project, something comes up, you got to replace something for $1 million. You can use that without going out to a bond. So I just think it's been great. And I think that's another thing that took away some steam from some people that were always yelling about why we got all these buildings, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel at times that you just, my father was a selectman for many years, and I just sat there and I watch you guys and I think, oh my God, in some ways it's a thankless job. You know, you're not there to be a millionaire. You're not there to become president. You're there because you care. But I mean, man, you got people that are just dying to beat up on you guys.
Well, what's kind of frustrating, I can understand that. I can deal with that. I was a police chief. I mean, I was a police officer for 36 years. But I guess what upsets me is that if you watch me, I ask questions that I usually know the answer to. I'm asking them for people who are watching, because sometimes we just know it all. We just gloss over it like it's nothing. If you watch, sometimes I'll say, Bud, you know, excess levy capacity, but every time you get a chance, explain what excess levy capacity is.
Yes,
that's
right.
The capacity we have to charge you. We're not charging you for taxes, you know, and let them know that he has. And we'll talk about. We agreed to put the updates of all these building projects on every meeting, and we'll get calls, Facebook. What's going on with this? They don't. I mean, if that's the frustrating part, we work so hard to get the information out there. And people just come off like,
but you know, people aren't showing up to the school committee meetings. I mean, sorry, the select board meetings. We don't know whether they're truly watching it on TV or not. Paula Johnson does an amazing job pushing out that content. But so do you feel that, is there anything different that can be done to better communicate with the public, in your opinion?
No, because, you know, we've also, not only does she record it, but the town website, we've updated. Another positive thing is that whole town website, you could get budgets information back for 10 years. Any person can. It's so transparent. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we put that out there. We put it out there.
Yeah.
You get the questions coming in. Why is it this? Yeah, it's all out there.
Yeah.
So, you know, I understand the issues, like with the machine gun range one. I was running that meeting. And that got kind of wild at times, but, and the treehouse issues.
Yeah.
I mean, and then when they do show up, it's kind of fun because you actually get some give and take, and some make good points.
Yeah.
There was one guy, I can't remember his name, that either was an engineer about building bridges or something. And he was adamant about some of the drawings that the architects for the boardwalk did.
Mm-hmm.
He had his own ideas. And he said, you could do this differently. And, you know, we weren't going to go, I wasn't going to go against our architect, but he actually, through the public meetings, met with them, and they did do some changes. So some good does come out of it, you know?
So let me ask you this. When we look at those bridges, Sagamore Bridge in particular, and there's the studies of rerouting and you know, that's kind of one bridge topic. And when you and I go off Cape, everyone's like, oh, dude, those bridges, I don't want to deal with the bridges. But right now, as you and I speak, there's a stoplight at the east side of and it's causing heart attacks, I'm sure, of people sitting in traffic. You're the selectman. If you know, I'd go to Bud if I could, but you're a selectman. How the hell can we get some relief between now and, say, Memorial Day, when they're expected to wrap up? What do you say about that?
Well, when I was chief, the concern was the weekend traffic backing up through town because of the feed-on ramp by the Christmas tree shop. That was we studied this. The state police were with us. If we shut that exit down, then you're going to have to get off either the center of Sandwich and go up towards it 130, or get off at Quaker Meeting House, get on or off. And that's going to throw traffic. We looked at this. I'll give you a funny story. There was a lieutenant in the state police who I knew very well out of the state police barracks, a really professional, nice guy. He said to me, Mike, we're going to put a bunch of troopers on the off Cape side of the Rotary Circle, and we're going to control that traffic. They botched that thing so bad. I saw him the next time, and he's like this. Oh, I can't believe it. I said, and a Rotary, you can't, you got 4 guys trying to.
Yeah.
And so we've tried all that. And I guess the only issue I can see is the new bridges. They weren't built for this. They weren't even built for anything near this. And the problem is, I think I was still chief, so it was probably 10 years ago at least. They were talking about if they didn't replace those bridges, the Corps told us there was a major repair coming to the Sagamore Bridge. The whole bedding has to be done because there are times they told me that if a hole went through the macadam, you could see the water. It's not supposed to be that way.
Yeah.
And so that's what they're doing now. And we knew this was coming. And there's no good time to do it. The only concern I might have is I don't know if they're working at night. And I
was going to ask you that.
Yeah. I had somebody I know come through late at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, and said the cops are there, but there's no work. So I wondered why they're not doing that. So maybe that would be the pressure. That's about the only thing they can do. You've got to dig the base up, and it's just a mess. But we all knew this. So.
Oh, it's crazy. And even the traffic patterns, it's no longer, Sunday night and Friday, it's now Wednesday and people work from home. And so there's almost no rhyme or reason, but this recent log jam is just, it goes back to, Cafe Chew almost, waiting to get up onto the bridge. So,
well, the other part of that is that I had some people, I don't go over that often, but I asked somebody about the traffic light, a couple people. Now, I guess it depends on when you go, but they said it was actually, I guess, coming from our side, coming from the side feeding onto the bridge. Mm-hmm. It was better than trying to fight to break into the traffic. Yeah. Nobody's going to let you get in.
Yeah, exactly. Mike, let me ask you about the charter review. Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, most of when the review was, COVID upset the whole process. It should have been done before. We finally got it going. And one of the concerns we were really looking at, some of the changes you probably already know have been recommended, changing select men to select board, changing some of the time frames that weren't necessary in some of the clauses. And of course, the biggest issue turned out to be whether we want to go to representative town meeting. And if you watch that selectmen's meeting, I was not in support of it.
Yeah.
Only because, and I didn't really explain it to the point I should have. If you're going to take the vote away from people and move it to the next level up where some representative is voting for you, I'm not going to take that vote away. If they want to, I like the way they finished up when they put it on as a referendum, non-binding. If the people want to vote their right to vote away, that's fine with me. Yeah, I'm not. As a selectman, I would never take the right of somebody's vote away. And I grew up in this town. I've gone up to probably almost every town meeting there ever was, and we had characters back in the old days. We had and everybody used to go, I think, just to listen to them.
Yeah, right.
But the other side of it is the people that do show up now. If it's a cause like the Cal building, we filled the place, because that's. But if it's just business, those people come all the time and they're knowledgeable. And to imply that they don't know what they're doing and you should go to a representative town meeting because those reps will know what they're doing. That's not true. There's some solid people that know it. And sometimes, one of the complaints was nobody asks any questions. Well, maybe they're fully aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And if you have an issue, just to ask questions when the information isn't supplied isn't right. But if you have an issue, go and expand.
Yeah. How do you feel that will end up?
I don't think people are going to vote for it. Some will, but we've lost population. It's interesting because I think when I left in 2000, 10 years ago, there was 22 or 23,000 people in town. We're down to 20. It's kind of funny to go that way when you think about it. You've used the system for all these years, and now the population decreases, and you want to change it to a representative type of type of a thing. And there is a place for representative town government. There's no question about it. But
Right.
I don't know whether what you have to, when you have to set up precincts, you have to set up elections, you have to set about how do you get somebody out if they're not doing their job?
Yeah.
Somebody brought up Falmouth representative, and some people don't show up. So when do you do that? You know, and all that has to be worked out, and I just don't know.
You were, we're running short on time, but I wanted to get this in there. How long were you this Sandwich police chief?
10 years.
10 years. And an additional 20 of that, you were 20. Okay.
No,
So-
26.
So now you got, police chief Wack retired. There is a new police chief.
Right.
Has he reached out to you at all and said, "Hey, Mike, you've been down this road before. Would give me some advice?"
I went to his when they were promoting. Peter Wack was leaving. When Jason was there. I knew Jason. He worked for me all the time, and so I just said to him, "Well, it's time." And I didn't offer. But I would if he ever. And he knows he could. But he was now. I remember he was deputy chief. We didn't have deputy chiefs when I was chief, but
Yeah.
he had a number of years. Actually, deputies usually do most of the work.
Yeah.
It's not like he didn't know what he was going to get into. The only difference is now it's on your back. You are the responsible person. So,
Right.
but it's not like coming into court. If you remember, I went from a sergeant to chief. I bypassed the middle all again over the situation, and I had nobody to talk to. I was calling up chiefs and sitting down with them and going to trainings, and I had no idea.
Yeah. Do you miss that? Do you miss that work?
Not at all.
Not at all.
I had I had good. I was the first juvenile officer long before it was a thing. I was in the schools in 1974 and 5. I started, and I loved that. I worked with all the youth, and I did all the sexual assault investigations, all the other stuff, and it was just something always was going. And then my wife finally said to me about 1980, "You better take the sergeant's exam." I said, "Why?"
Yeah.
That's how it goes. So it's one of those things that they always tell you. You move up to something you know nothing from. You move from something you know everything about to something you don't know anything about.
Right.
And you're supposed to be successful, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mike, I could talk to you forever. You definitely have that experience, and I'm glad to see you back up on the ballot and keep on going. But quickly, how do you feel about Bobby George's initiative, if you will, or desire to put that moratorium on petitions?
I went to the town hall. We got back from our trip yesterday, and I went in and got my packet. And I didn't know Bobby had done it. I knew he was interested in it. And in general, the idea of people coming back every single year, because if you watch this flip-flop, it's already happened. And now this next one is like all plastics, I guess, forks, I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I'm not against the idea of finding a way, but you can't take that right away from people. That's part of the whole process.
Yeah.
So I haven't quite decided on the part of, I think Bobby got the 2-year thing from another town. I think another town does it that way. At least that's what he told me. But changing the numbers, I thought might have been a little extreme. If you read the second part of it, it's like, 10 signatures is really not good either.
Right.
But
right.
you're not getting into the 150 or 300 people. Yeah, I don't know. And I don't know if the people would go for that. They may go with the idea and adjust it, but it is a pain though, because we put those articles on at the end of the town meeting. So that if anybody's not interested in that, most likely, if there are zoning issues before that, they're really not going to be there probably.
Right. Right.
So, and Bobby's point was, is it fair to do something this large, take water away from it, plastic water, with 50 votes or 2 votes or whatever,
Yeah.
So there is it's a good discussion point.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good to have the jury still out because there's still more to talk about. Hey, Mike Miller, selectman, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I will tell our viewers here, make sure you vote. May 4th is the day, or before, if you still have time, you can do that. And I like to say you can't complain if you don't vote. Well, I guess you can, but that's only on Facebook. That's yeah. But look, thank you so much, Sandwich. I will see you soon.
All right, Greg.
Thank you, Mike.
Go back to work.
All right, I will. Take care.
See you later.
All right. Bye-bye.